Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We are in resentments. Woohoo! Right? We are getting over resentments. This is not how to build resentments. This is how to get on the other side of resentments. Okay. So we are on chapter 11, page 272. We are on the topic of unresolved conflicts. Here we go. I'm going to walk you through, ladies, how to get over resentments, and you are just going to be happy because they're gone. This is the time to smile. This is when you learn how to get over stuff that have been bothering you for years so that you can go through your life with joy. Like, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. I'm living now, and I want to feel a closeness to my husband. I don't want all this stuff in my life. Okay, here's how we go. Unresolved conflicts. My student Bracha ran a toddler playgroup in her home. One day, her husband Ellie told her that he was very concerned about a new city ordinance. From now on, she would have to work outside the home. Bracha protested that no one else was paying any attention to the ordinance, but Ellie was adamant. As frum Jews, he believed that we must obey the law whether or not the neighbors do likewise. She started to teach at the local school, but every day when she dropped her young son off for someone else to care for, she couldn't get over the resentment she felt against Ellie for putting her into this position, meaning she started another job. She knew that he was right, but nonetheless, her heart ached to be at home with her own child. The problem with a lump under the rug this big is that it can affect so many other interactions with her husband, and so it was with Bracha. Because she had never dealt with the emotional issues troubling her about Ellie's directive, nor spoken in an earnest manner to him about the matter, she was simply left feeling like a victim to his pronouncement. Thus, anytime Ellie gave the other opinions as to how he would like things to be, she now heard it as the proclamation of a dictator rather than her full partner sharing his ideas. Bracha began to see Ellie in that light with every decision they made. How should this have been handled in the first place, and how should she handle it now? First, by sitting down with Ellie at the first feeling of anger, this is in the beginning, much resentment could have been avoided. Before Bracha closed her gun, she should have made an appointment with her husband to discuss the issue at a quiet and peaceful hour. To give the conversation the best chance of success, she would have made sure Ellie had eaten dinner, was well rested, and comfortable. Then she would have expressed her emotions about losing the opportunity to be with their son and asked Ellie to do whatever he possibly could do to get an exemption or figure out another way of earning parnasa that could be done from home. After the heartfelt discussion, the upshot may still have been that Bracha would have to work outside the home, but it makes all the difference in the world to be heard, to give someone the opportunity to help us, and to feel like the end result is truly beyond their control. Then, when she dropped off her son, she might be upset at the circumstances, but she would not be upset at her husband, and that is the goal. Searching for resolution. But now that there is a giant lump under the rug, and Bracha has almost a full year of resentment about this issue, not to mention having gathered many examples of his dictatorial side, how can they possibly clean the slate and get back to harmony? The first step is to understand that every challenge in our lives is from the one true master of the universe, and it is always designed to maximize our potential. It may seem like an actual person is foisting this problem on us, but he or she is only the shliach, the emissary implementing God's will. This information is often helpful in reducing our anger towards the messenger and gives us a chance to contemplate what growth Hashem may want from us. At this point in Bracha's situation, discussion becomes much more challenging. It's always best to keep on top of the carpet lumps as they surface, so they don't fester and grow. If Ellie and Bracha have a solid history of handling conflicts reasonably well, meaning no yelling, no sarcasm, and good teamwork approach, then it might be possible to resolve these feelings in a constructive manner, given enough time and care. If they do not have a good communication track record, then it may take the help of a trained professional or rabbi to get all of the feelings out and come to harmony about the issue. Alternatively, I have students who use the technique of writing their spouse a letter saying everything that they feel without putting him on the defensive in order to come to harmony. Perhaps Bracha could write something like this. Dear Ellie, I understand that last year you did not mean to make me unhappy by suggesting we close the gun. You saw it as necessary step that was beyond our control. I wish at that time I had thought to sit down with you to brainstorm other solutions because it has been hard to not spend all that time with our son. Maybe we could have come up with an alternative idea, or maybe it would have ended up this way anyway, who knows? But the result is, I'm sorry to say, that I've been feeling upset at you about this. I know my thought process has been wrong, but I guess I didn't understand that I should have gone to you first, that of course you want what's best for me. Anyway, I am writing you this note because I don't want to be upset about this anymore. I know you didn't try to upset me on purpose, but I felt that sharing my emotions with you now, even if a little late, will help us to clean the slate so we can move on. I don't need anything from you right now, I guess, except for you to understand how I feel and to tell me that you appreciate how I did what you said, even though it was very hard for me. And I guess, most importantly, that in the future, if something like big like this comes up, that we will spend more time discussing it. So even if the outcome is bad, I will feel like we are full partners in making decisions together. I hope you take this letter with the warmth that I intended. I want to be closer to you, and I hope that means a lot to you. Love, Bracha. The next step for Bracha would be to see how her husband reacts to this letter. Does he get upset that she seems to be blaming him for something beyond his control? Or does he come back and tell her he appreciates the letter, that he had no idea how hard it had been for her, and is glad she told him now? But no matter how he responds to this one challenge, the fact that she is working towards keeping a clean slate in their marriage will certainly make an impression on him. Whatever method you use, the main point is that cleaning the slate has three parts: sharing your feelings about the situation, listening to your husband's feelings about the situation, and forgiving each other. Okay, what you got for me? Because intense, right? Is this heavy duty?
I first of all, I love that letter. Like, yummy.
No,
And
okay.
she shared all her needs, but at the same time, she did it in a soft way, which is such a delicate balance. And good job on her, or whoever
Yeah,
the author is.
yay.
Okay. Jessica asks, I once tried bringing something up from the past, but my husband found it strange and told me that I'm just looking for problems. I hear where he's coming from, and I haven't done it since. Now I'm a little confused.
Oh, very good. Okay. So all she needs to do is straighten it out with him and say, oh no, I'm not bringing up the past, whatever. This is something that is carried forward, unfortunately. Yes, it happened in the past, but everyone knows that women a husband could be wonderful all these years, but one time he forgot her anniversary and she didn't let him forget it for 20 years. That's kind of like, sorry, that's the woman's, nature, whatever. So I'm sorry. The reason I'm bringing this up now is I want it to be resolved. I want to get it off the slate. I want to, it's something that when I think back on, I get upset about, or that bothers me, and I want to be able to resolve it now, and that's why I'm bringing it up now. That's it. She's good.
Great. Okay. Hi, Sarah asks, I feel resentful of my husband because I feel that even though I am a stay-at-home mom, I work harder than my husband, and it's not acknowledged by him. My husband is blessed to have a very relaxed job that isn't even full-time, while my job, being the homemaker, is 24/7. I want my husband to acknowledge how hard I work without him feeling bad that he doesn't work nearly as hard. Our children are quite a handful.
So first of all, I don't know if you have been following the show since since the Secret Wives Club has started, but we talked a lot about of the woman's, all the bracha comes from the husband or whatever. So even if she feels like she's working harder or whatever, and frankly, women often do tend to work harder because they can multitask whatever. A man can only pretty much do one thing at a time. I'm no insult and no downput, but a woman shouldn't feel like mad at her husband for not being a multitasker because it's not in most men's nature. It could flip the other way and he's better multi and she isn't or whatever. But for the most part, that's how it is. So saying I work harder somehow makes it feel like she's the one who's putting the non-partnership into their partnership, it's kind of like he does his role and she does her role. So I'm a little confused on why, she's resentful of him for not appreciating her. If she needs more appreciation, go back to chapter whatever it is where we talked about appreciation and get yourself appreciated. Fill that appreciation bucket. Is that going to do it for you? Or do you need him to be suffering like you're suffering in order for it to work, to feel equal? I'm not quite sure I'm following. I assume that you're feeling resentful that it seems like he has an easier life. That was given to him by God. God creates the circumstances in life. Do you want him to work harder? Or is what you're saying, what you've said, the only thing you've said is you want more appreciation for him. So the way to get it is not by me being mad at him for doing less and you're being, the martyr doing all this hard work. The way to get more appreciation is to solicit it. It's your job as the wife to solicit that appreciation from him and say, didn't I do a great job today? And, and whatever. And he gets annoyed, like, why do you keep complimenting yourself? Because I need the compliments and this makes it easier on you. We have a lot of shows on how to get the appreciation that a woman desperately needs. Woman usually walks around not even noticing. So yasher koach on you for even noticing that. But to resent him for it is an error on your part. It's just an action that needs to happen immediately for you to get more appreciation and to solicit it. And there's 6 different ways to get that, the ventriloquist and then say, oh, you're the best wife ever, like that. There's a lot of different strategies that you can use to get the appreciation you need. And that's your job. So get to it. And Hashem should bench you that it should go easy for you. Okay, good. What else?
Amen. Okay, Emmy's asking, Baruch Hashem, my husband and I don't argue much, but ironically, when we do, it's often in front of the kids. Probably because when we're with the kids, things can get stressful quickly. I'd love some tips for avoiding conflict in front of them. What I've been trying so far is just asking my husband if we can talk about it later, but he just gets more upset because he likes to deal with the conflict right away and not let it fester. I get resentful of him when he just gets more frustrated because I'm just trying to protect our kids.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is called preemptive, a preemptive communication, which is she needs to pull him aside, not in the middle of the battle when he feels like, everybody needs to know what's going on, that needs to be resolved right away. That's not the time to talk, bring about it up. That's not the time to brainstorm how to handle things and what should be, how the way you'd want it and the way he'd want it. And you guys come to a resolution of how you're going to handle it in front of the kids, not in front of the kids. So a preemptive communication means you're pulling them aside and saying, a lot of times, you and I, Baruch Hashem, we get along pretty great and we don't have conflicts or whatever, but when in front of the kids, they often come up in front of the kids. This is an issue. I'd like to not have that happen. Tell me what to do. When you say something and I don't agree with it and it's in front of the kids, should we wink at each other? Should we say artichoke? Should we, how do we get, whatever? And he'll say, no, we need to solve it right then. It's good for them to see, how conflict is resolved. You say, okay, I hear that. My feeling is if the kids see us as a united front all the time, it's going to be much strong. They're going to grow up stronger and happier, which happens to be the truth, and healthier. If we have a united front, to seeing us argue, it makes them terrified of their life. They can't sleep at night. They'll start having night terrors and so forth because it's so like an earthquake underneath them. Look, if you do it a few times, don't stress yourself about it. But if that's a regular thing, and that's when you're having your conflicts is in front of the kids, it could damage them. Again, it's more important to have shalom with your husband. So if he doesn't give in on this, then just go with it. And it's better that they should see that, mommy is sticking it out, for whatever reason. And you're being willing to mavater and go your husband's way, even if though you totally don't agree with it, will somehow rub off on and make shalom. So that's, if he won't give in, that's what I would do. But if you can have a conversation with him and communicate with him in a way that he really it goes clunk in his head, if you can do that, and get him on side, convince him, think of ways, what would be the secret sauce that you could put in the communication to him that would have him see how important it is to you, how valuable it is. Really, really think it through. Your husband better than anybody. So think about what you've done in the past that might have worked that you could do again. He was adamant about something and then you came and you said, I realize, okay, we can do it your way if you want, but here are 3 reasons I don't want to. And that worked. So do that this time. look back to your past successes, and that's a good gauge of what you've been able to give over to him that hasn't made him defensive, haven't made him argue with you, fight with you, like that. And uh, and I would really give you a wholehearted effort to try and get him to have some kind of secret code that when you have a conflict with each other, that you don't blast each other in front of the children. That's it. And if you can't, then just do it his way. Okay. Good luck with it. Good luck with it. I think you'll be successful because I think deep down, men know what's sort of the better thing. Again, this all doesn't take place in a vacuum. If everywhere else you're pushing your way and controlling him and trying to get him to do everything your way, it has to be your way. If you're like that, then he's going to fight here as well. Whereas if you start to ease up on those things and giving him more control in every other area, and then you bring this up, he'll be much more open to listen to what you have to say. Okay, good. What?
Okay, great. So many questions coming in. Sippy is asking, I find it hard to forgive my husband if he doesn't understand what he's done. Sometimes I'll communicate my upsets with him, but he doesn't really get it. So it doesn't take responsibility. How can I then forgive him? It's like talking to a wall.
I would try 10 different ways to try and communicate with him. So, write him a letter, send him a text, these are all trials you're going to do. Sit down, go for a walk with him sometimes when you're talking with somebody and you're looking him in the eye and whatever, and they're always looking away or they just aren't comfortable, whatever. They say this a lot with teenagers. The best thing to do is go on a walk, because then you're both looking forward and they can hear you better because you're not staring at them waiting for the reaction. How are they reacting? So try that with your husband. Try, leaving them a voice note of how your emotions are, whatever you can do. And you can even look up or speak with somebody, a Rebbitzin, a rabbi, a therapist, somebody. How can I convince my husband of da da da? How can I share with him? How can I make him not defensive? Sometimes he says he's sorry and I don't feel like he even knows he doesn't even understand. But the thing that's most painful is it doesn't seem like he wants to understand. It's almost like yeah, he just wants to get it over with. And I need to be heard. My feelings need to be validated. What do I do? So that's one thing, is figure out 10 different methodologies, maybe write them in a journal over a few days, thinking of brainstorming different things you can do to communicate with him. Then I would also in the conversation say, when I explain to you how I feel and my emotions, and I know you're kind of more like a roboton. There's some guys who are just kind of robot emotions. Yes, dear, no, whatever. How do you feel about that? What do you mean? It was a good, or whatever. They aren't even in touch with their emotions, and your husband could be one of those. And okay, so that's who Hashem gave you. So you got to deal with that. So you need to say, I know you may not understand, my emotions and how my emotions felt when this happened, but I feel invalidated when you say, I'm sorry, and I don't feel like you really heard me or like you really understood. So what can we do about that? And take the problem and you're putting it in his lap and saying, how do you think we can solve this? He loves you. He's going to hopefully care about your being able to, be heard. He wants you to be heard. So if you're not being heard, you need to be able to express it in a way that he can help you with that. Yeah, it was a good question. It's work, it's effort, and you deserve to be validated. And one thing you just have to look at also, just from the other side of the coin, is what part of you perhaps is creating a situation or a scenario where he doesn't validate you. In other words, if you grew up in a family and you were never validated, and then you married a husband who was perfectly normal in either way, you could almost create a husband who invalidates you because it's a feeling of familiarity, even though it's not healthy and doesn't feel good. So just look at your own potential responsibility for it. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, look at that, because that kind of introspection might help you break through to have him understand where you're coming from. Very, very important and crucial, deep, important thing to work on. So good luck to you. Okay. Good.
Okay. Last question that we have time for. Shayna's asking, I'm not one who has trouble with bearing a grudge. A few years ago, I embarrassed my husband, and it seems like no matter how many times I apologize, he constantly refers to it. How many times can a woman say sorry?
A great question. So you need to ask him. You need to say to him, listen, I've apologized so many times and you can't get over it. What do you want from me that will help you get over it? And zip your lip and just let him answer. I'll say, well, it was such a horrible thing. I hear, I'm sorry. I've said I'm sorry many times. I don't know how to get you from a place from still being upset about it to being on the other, to being able to forgive me for it and to being able to be on the other side of it. I don't know. There might be nothing else I can do, but if there is something else I could do, I'm willing, ready, willing, and able to do this for you. Just tell me. Just tell me what you need. Do you need me to, make you homemade dessert every night for a year? What can I do? What can I do to make it up to you and make it up to you? And hopefully that question will help you to turn the corner on that. It's a very, very good question. Okay, very good, ladies. Okay, let me just think of homework. Give me 1 second. Ooh. So I think this whole theme that we're working on now is kind of a little bit taking responsibility for the hiccups in the relationship. That yes, we can blame him. We can say he did this and this, and this was all of this stuff is his fault or whatever. That leaves us powerless and that leaves us unable to really make a difference in those areas. Whereas if we say, okay, what am I going to do to clean this lump under the rug? What am I, I've got this resentment. How am I going to carry this to my grave? Like for forever, I'm just going to hold on to this. What do I need to be able to get on the other side of this? What conversation, can I just let it go? What conversation with my husband do I need to have to get on the other side of it, and taking responsibility for the lumps? And that is our clearest goal, our clearest way to have the menuchas nefesh, peace in our own life and closeness with our husband. So the homework this week is to take one lump and think about what can I do to get on the other side of this. Okay, there's Leah Richheimer for Ladies Talk Show. Mwah! We'll see you next week.